The following podcast contains adult language and themes, so don't say we didn't fucking warn you.
You're listening to SarahTalk. It's political.
Whatever the condition is in their home country is so bad that they're willing to go through that long, arduous trek to get here, where we've promised this American dream idea. The least we could fucking do is when they knock on our door or help them.
Critical.
Look, whenever there's someone coming after my community, they are either wearing a MAGA hat, carrying a Bible, or more often both.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
Oh, they're shutting us down. They're deplatforming us. I knew a pretty good Alex Jones once. Return the Frogs gag!
Okay, you're sleeping in a child's room tonight because there's no way you're sleeping next to me. That is disgusting. I'm going to have nightmares.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey everybody, welcome to SarahTalk. Dan says, drum roll, will the Alex Jones voice be gone? No, I'm sorry, there hasn't been anything funny to...
I thought that as I heard
it
it. I was like, why hasn't she replaced this crap yet?
Sorry. I updated... Are you
Sorry,
dying?
man, that sounded like I've been smoking for 30 years.
You sound like me.
Okay.
Yeah, I updated a couple of the other clips, but I don't have a good goofy one for that. Well, anyway, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Sarah Austin, and welcome back to the 800,000 federal employees who were furloughed or forced to work without pay during the government shutdown. 2
paychecks they missed.
President Trump agreed yesterday to kick the can 3 weeks down the road, reopening the federal government, ending a 35-day shutdown that he created, the longest government shutdown in the history of America. And this is what the headline should read, right? Trump lost the standoff, failing to force Democrats to give him billions of dollars for his long-promised wall that the majority of Americans don't even want. That's a long headline. I get it. But that should be the headline. And welcome to our in-studio guests tonight.
Haha, yay! There's people here. They like us. They really like us.
And there's more to come. Dan says hair down episode.
Yep.
Yay. Yep. I put my hair down. Keith and Rachel are here with us tonight. And thank you, Keith, for taking photos of me earlier. Dan, that's why my hair's down, because I had to look good for the photography.
You'll notice I don't look any different.
We all need to go get into the stylist.
It's
fixed.
bad. It's so bad.
So we met Keith and Rachel through a local atheist group and a group that we're starting here in Polk County. So welcome to the show. Thank you guys for coming. You're gonna get right up on that microphone.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Cool. Yeah. So we also have another guest who's coming soon. I'm trying to watch my messages. I'm not gonna watch the chat because I'm gonna.
Okay, I got the chat.
I'm
There's
going
nothing
to
going on.
pay attention to my messages.
Dan's excited over your... Oh, yeah, he's excited over your hair, and he says it's time for me to do another buzz cut. I would, but I have to read at a wedding in April, and I don't want to be necessarily...
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. What are you going to do with your
I'm
hair?
trying to figure it out. I've got to go see Michael and just have him do something magical.
Right.
But first I have to get my paychecks rolling again, because, the TSA doesn't pay. Just kidding.
You had a yard sale.
I had a yard sale. And then I went and bought diapers with that money.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where do we want to start?
At the beginning.
My show plan is all completely off tonight,
right,
based on
events,
changes to things. Yes.
Well, we got to do it backwards then.
Yeah,
do Florida Man first?
No, we're not going to do Florida Man first.
We'll really screw him up. No, everybody will tune out after Florida Man. Like, oh, goodbye. I got my laugh.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, Florida Man's over. The show's done. Turn it off.
Probably Dan post-wedding buzz cut, he says. Sure.
Yes.
Because it'll be ready. It'll be like summertime.
It'll be summertime.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the things that we have coming up, we talked to our friends Tim Reimel and Bill Prickett over at the Recovering from Religion podcast. We recorded with them, and Was it earlier this week? Was that this week or last week? I can't keep track of one day
Monday.
from the next. It was this week.
It was Monday. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll let you know when that's produced and ready to listen to. But that was a lot of fun.
It was a good conversation. I like them. They're really, really cool.
Yeah. And Recovering from Religion is an organization that, supports people who are coming out of religion. And as we often know, religion can be very harmful to people. We have a whole house full of children that are cackling in the other room.
There's an 11-year-old, a couple 8-year-olds, and a 3-year-old. Woo, they're having a party.
So Keith and I were talking earlier, like, the way that I have changed and been challenged in my own views on abortion, right? So, I was very compelled by the arguments that were made on the Atheist Community of Austin show, where if you look at it from the lens of consent, right, I'm not consenting to have this thing inside me. So I should be able to revoke its... Trying to figure out what word I want to use. Right? I should be able to evict it from my house. It's squatting in my house.
I was thinking the same thing. Like,
right?
You're the landlord and you're, let's get out.
Right. Like, I own
You're not
this
paying
house.
rent, kid. Get out.
Right. But that view was something that, that I had to challenge myself on, because that's not what I learned in my religion. And we were talking earlier that, like, some of that stuff is hard to kick.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to shake, because even though, like, I'm atheist, that still bothers me. It still bothers me in some way, even though, like, I totally think it should be legal. But
right.
It's still, I have a problem with it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I can't shake it.
Yeah. That's just one of those things that, you've spent a number of years being indoctrinated, being programmed by society to think that, like when the minute we found out we were having kids, and granted it was a little different because they were wanted, that was a wanted pregnancy, you immediately start thinking of that as our baby. Like, from the moment the test changes colors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's just a social programming thing that we go through, while it's just a clump of cells, And so we have to challenge the way we think about.
I think, even though it's a clump of cells, because it's a clump of cells in every scenario, but it's the potential. There's, like, okay, this is going to be our, like, the potential. But in various situations, that potential changes, whether you want, like, just depends on your circumstances. So if you have somebody who was raped and didn't want this, and, the potential is now that this one thing that happened to me is now going to affect me the rest of my life in a very visible, physical, like, it's not just a memory, it's not just an internal scar, it's a living being outside of my body that now I have to take care of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, so let's learn a little about you both and your journey to godlessness.
Very nicely put.
You want to go first?
Well, my story is actually very similar to Becca's story. Being raised a Jehovah's Witness and kind of coming to terms with all of the chaos that encompasses being a witness. But it took me a long time, and I think my husband kind of brought me to the point where, and of course having a degree in science kind of helps too. But yeah, I think that kind of, all of that accumulated into the fact that, like, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And then when my 11-year-old daughter kind of, like, puts things in perspective for me, I'm like, wow, you're absolutely correct. Like, why didn't I come to this conclusion by myself? So that was, go ahead, honey.
Yeah, my mom was Catholic and basically called us Catholic, but we never went to church. I never
That's
saw.
Catholic.
I never saw a Bible. I broke your thing here.
It just slides in and out.
I never saw a Bible till like my mid-20s. So we were never really religious, but we claimed we were. Mom always thought that God was looking out for her. Meanwhile, Dad's
Right.
beating the hell out of all of us.
Mhm.
So that instantly made me skeptical. So I wondered why God was letting this happen. So that just kind of set that was the seed there.
Right.
And it just grew from there. Then I just got more and more rebellious, and I was kind of just acting out.
You were
Dressed
a
as
you were a
Jesus.
punk. You were a punk.
Dressed as Jesus at Halloween, so I knew there was no going back there.
Oh, that's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
He was a
Oh.
beautiful genius.
Oh,
Jesus.
yeah. Epic Jesus. My mom actually helped me make the robe for it.
Oh my gosh.
So-
Wow.
So like that, I knew there was no going back there. So there's no going back from there. So
Jesus getting a beer
yeah, I
out
had
of a
to.
keg.
Yeah, I had to. So I mean, then I started looking into it, and I was still scared to take the leap, but finally did. And
We have Jesus right here.
yes, I like the Dunkin' Donuts he has.
Flat Jesus. Yeah.
Culotta he has. I back him.
Jesus. Yes. I made him. That's
Yeah.
why he has Dunkin' Donuts.
It's very pretty.
I made Jesus just in case any was.
But yeah, that was I was skeptical from day one. The more I looked into it, fell apart.
I was raised in kind of a bland religious experience too. Like we went to church on Sundays, but we didn't talk about, we didn't do like at-home Bible studies, and
You didn't
We
circle
didn't
the table and
talk
pray
about
before
the
every
Bi-
meal?
no, no,
That was weird when your
We
parents.
no. Like
Yeah,
at Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff, we would do like but the whole family, we were all very close, and so we all came to Grandma's house and had Thanksgiving or whatever.
And somebody said
And somebody would say the
blessing.
the blessing.
Yeah.
The blessing.
The blessing.
It's my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
We had to think.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yes.
We watch that movie every year for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do too.
My uncle was our PE teacher. And it was his favorite Christmas movie too. So we would roll the AV cart into the room and skip PE for a week. And in 30-minute sections, we would watch that movie. And in the scene in the pool where he's having his hallucination, he had like a clipboard that he'd hold. Classic Coach, right? He'd hold a clipboard up to the screen so you couldn't see it.
And if y'all in the chat or that are listening don't know what movie we're talking about, shame on you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. If you'd like to find out, you can head on over to patreon.com/SarahTalk and
Put it in the outtakes.
subscribe, and we'll tell you. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Just
Oh my gosh. I love it.
pay for answers.
We usually buy it because we don't have it for some reason on DVD, but I bought it this year on DVD, so we have it.
But that's, it's just, there's so much of that stuff that religion does to you that lingers, and it takes, when people leave God or people leave faith behind, you often leave more than just God. You often lose your family, and that's something Becca and I have talked about on the show a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Where you don't know, because there's the teachings, and then there's, are people going to live up to those teachings? But I understand that you have some experience with that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't spoken or seen my mom in close to about 10 years.
Oh my
I was actually pregnant with my son Ian. He's 9 now, and she called me up and gave me the news that I was disfellowshipped and she couldn't talk or see me anymore. And it was hurtful, but I've moved past it. I mean, I guess I kind of compare it to like losing a person, kind of the stages of grief.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like I've mourned my mother. That's the only way I can process it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can't really do much more than that.
No,
because if
no.
she's not going to have anything to do with you, then she's
And
made
if
that decision.
I try to if I try to make reason of it, or if I try to deal with it in a different way, it's not going to make sense to me, because
No.
having my own children,
Yeah.
I mean, I would never ever
Right?
do
Yeah.
that to them. Ever.
Right.
I mean, they
Yeah.
could turn out to be serial killers, and I'd still be there.
You'd still have
Right.
some
After-
part
I'm
of
ashamed
it.
of
Right.
you.
Yeah.
What you did
But
sucked.
I still
Right.
love you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine looking into my son's eyes and be like, no, I can't talk to you anymore.
I can't.
We're
I-
No.
not going to associate.
It's
anymore.
sad because I have lots of friends that are in that boat, and then I have friends that aren't in that boat because their parents won't do it. They're
Mhm.
Like, yeah, they've been disfellowshipped, and their parents are like, "You're still my kid, and I'm still gonna be here for you." And I think that's like, those are the ones that I think are like really actually trying to uphold that the Christian values of taking care of your family, and not so much, oh, I've got to listen to every single thing that's said off of the stage or that comes out of New York. Because, I mean, I always thought of it, they're just guys in New York. They're just human beings. Like, I guess that's kind of where when I fell away, I think that's where my mind
We're
was.
not the governing body.
Like,
End all to end all.
well, I think at the time I just couldn't grasp like a lot of that. Like, well, how do I test it? Like, and you can't. There's no way to test, like, unless you really like.
How do
step
some
back.
really old men in New
Right.
York get to tell me what to do?
Right?
Like really
But
old guys.
but going back to that, like when I found out I was pregnant with our son, I was very, very worried about how is this conversation going to go? Like, because it could have gone either way. I wasn't disfellowshipped. I hadn't been,
Mhm.
but it could have been.
Mhm.
I just moved away and kind of like said, okay, I'm going to put this on the back burner. And eventually it just kind of fell behind the stove, and I was sympathetic to it for a really long time. But fortunately, I didn't have that experience, but I couldn't imagine. Like, that's like what I think about too. When I look at my kids, I can't ever imagine them doing anything.
Have they ever talked about this fellowship?
No, I kind of just walked away and didn't look back. Like, I didn't give them the opportunity.
Were you baptized though?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was. But I moved out of the area, and I never went to a Kingdom Hall up here. So my cards are still, for all I know, back
Yeah,
there.
you didn't do any cardinal sins. You didn't do anything worth
Well, and I also,
fellowshipping.
but I also didn't go back. Like, I think if I were to go back and say I want to start going to meetings again, they would have to address me.
Oh, you'd have to go through the same
Yeah,
rigmarole.
but I
and
just
everything
didn't.
else.
I just didn't. I just said, you know what, that chapter's closed right now, and I'm not going to deal with it right now.
Mhm.
And now I'm going to focus on what I've got to do to take care of my kid and do me. And
Absolutely.
it looks like we have more people coming to the studio, and Sarah's going to try to sneak behind the camera. That was tricky.
Oh, you smell lovely.
Yeah,
Woo.
was great in here.
Okay, give us a second to.
How have you done holding the show?
We had a very good conversation
It
until
fell
you
apart.
came in and destroyed my concentration.
Down in flames.
We were talking about.
Okay, I'll listen back to it in the playback.
You're gonna have
and,
to edit this out.
and I'll
obviously.
delete it. Okay.
We're switching to a Jehovah's Witness show.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, sure. Look, I'm interested in producing some new shows.
We're gonna do field service tomorrow.
We're gonna wake up really
Listen,
early.
it's been a long time. You saw me trying to find that scripture.
Now,
Pretty quick. Yeah.
now we have an event tomorrow that we're going to do, but I wouldn't call that field service.
Oh, wow. My dad has a great comment. He said, love is the test, and religion fails miserably in demonstrating it.
Very good.
Oh, wow,
Dad.
yeah.
Very
That's
good,
epic.
Dad.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hi, Becca's dad, by the way.
Okay, so now we have Alyssa in the
Hi,
studio with
Alyssa.
us.
Welcome.
Hi, Alyssa.
I'm
Thank you for
Becca.
having me. Thank you.
You'll want to get a little closer to that microphone.
Sorry.
That mic picks everything up. So we've been talking about how religion harms people. Where do you land on the God question?
I don't believe in God.
Welcome.
You smell lovely and you don't believe in God.
Right?
Awesome.
Two for two. Thank you. I'm winning so far.
I wish I had been here for I don't know where to go from there because you guys were talking.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about the disfellowshipping and how it affects you and like and as mothers, like how we could never look at our children and so.
Were you raised in a religion?
I was. At one time I did believe, but then I just like, the more I thought about it, the more I'm just like, really? Like I just fell out of it. Like my mom doesn't agree with it, but because she believes, but I'm just like, I don't. Like it's not something that I came to lightly. It was something that I went to church, I did this, I did that, and like my life was still the same. So there was like no change. So people that say that may work for them, but it didn't work for me. It was just like, it didn't matter what I was doing. Like my life was still the same.
Yeah. So how did it, so like for me, when I came out and said, look, this is who I am and I need to transition, I didn't know how my family was going to react because my family is all pretty much religious, all some flavor of Christian or another. And my mother was probably the most accepting, and I think that's because, like, when I was in my teens, and this is in the 90s, right? The only way that I could access femininity in that time and the small town rural area that I lived in was to, like, steal bras from my mom and sisters, right? And a lot of us do, like, you go to any of these forums where people are talking about going through this gender dysphoria and gender identity journey, we've all done that, right? And so I think she kind of had an idea. She didn't know what it was, but it wasn't as big a surprise to her. My dad was concerned about how are you going to keep a job. And my sisters were the odd reactions. I have one sister that's married to a preacher, and her initial reaction was, well, this just isn't something that we agree with. This isn't something we believe in. We're going to have to agree to disagree. Now, I'm happy to say she's come around on that, but, just not knowing how your religious family is going to take that, and we've been talking about, just the shunning that happens in religious communities where your family just turns on you and cuts off all contact. How was that for you? Did you have your family been accepting, or have you had any issues?
Yeah, my mom was always, she just like, she knew, so, because I wasn't really like, I didn't do anything like a little boy would do. I didn't feel like a boy. I didn't feel like I was in the right skin. I didn't feel like, I felt like something was different for me.
I didn't notice that until like puberty.
I know that when I was younger, but I didn't understand it because I was young and I didn't really understand why. I just knew how I felt. And I would like to play with Barbies, and I would like to wear my mom's clothes and her makeup, and I would like to do all this stuff, and I liked the female singers. I just did everything like that, and at the time it didn't make sense, but as I got older, it did.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, when did you decide that transitioning was something that needed to happen?
I was in my 20s, like maybe.
Yeah, so yesterday.
Yeah. 33. Yeah, I'll admit I'm 33, but yeah, it took me a while because I came out and I thought I was gay, but it still didn't feel right. It felt like it wasn't who I was. And I didn't understand, and then someone had told me, and then I researched and I did all these, I did Google, I did everything. I asked people that I knew were, and I just came up, I took a lot of time, and it just made sense because everything I was feeling, it was right there.
Yeah. I went through, we had talked about how this kind of developed when I came home from therapy and said to Becca, okay, this is something this is who I am. This is something I need to do. And I had 30 some years or whatever. It wasn't 30 years, 20 years to process it. But it was not day one brand new to her, but it was still, I mean, that was fresh. She hadn't had all the time that I had to process that this is who I am. So that was a thing that she had to work through. And, you know, the same thing with my family, too. Like, that it's interesting how we spend so much time in our heads trying to figure this thing out, and then when it finally comes out, and Scott, we're free, but everybody else is, like, trying to play catch-up.
Mm-hmm.
Did you grow up in Florida?
I didn't.
No?
I actually moved here when my mom did because she just wanted a fresh start. So I was like in Georgia most of my life, but I was born in New Jersey actually.
Okay. I grew up in Illinois. You guys native Floridian?
I was born in Ohio, but moved here when I was 6. So
Oh, Ohio.
basically, Floridian.
I'm a Floridian. Yeah, South Florida.
You have that Ohio. I have a friend from Ohio. And I just no. Listen to me. No, this is so weird. It's the beard. No, like the way you talk. Every now and then I hear his voice, and just now you did it again. And I'm like,
You
wait,
mean deep and sexy?
it's yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to do some voiceover work.
Okay, go on. So Rachel's a native Floridian.
Yes, Hollywood, Florida. Yes.
Yes, it's a rare.
Just like right down the road from me.
Yeah.
Like we
It's
could have
kind
been
of weird.
We could have been
The similarities
friends.
are a
We're,
little
like
strange.
right in the
Yeah.
same age bracket.
Yeah, that's good though.
Anyway.
So let's talk about Alyssa.
Georgia.
Oh, yeah, Georgia. Let's talk about your music again. So we played some of your music on a recent episode 143. So your album Reestablished came out a little over a month ago. How was the launch party?
The launch party was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a nice turnout, and I performed, and people loved it, and it just kind of built this anticipation for others, and like I've been getting like requests and people wanting my album and
Oh,
stuff.
that's great.
It's been really awesome.
Cool.
So good. And you performed on New Year's Eve. I watched the videos that you posted on YouTube.
It was actually amazing.
That looked like a blast.
I had so much fun. And it was actually something that I wanted to do. I'm like, I want to be performing on New Year's Eve. Like, they say what you're doing that day is like what you're doing the rest of the year, and that's what I want to be doing.
Oh, nice.
So,
Cool.
When did you get into music? Is that something that you've always been passionate about?
I was 7 years old. Like, I didn't know who I was, but I knew I liked music. I loved Madonna. I would watch her, and I would be like, not watching her as in, oh, she's a great entertainer. I'd be like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just had something different about me because, like, music would just open my imagination and my inspiration, and it just kind of grew as I grew.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Music was always an outlet for me. That was my escape. And I mean, escapism. I have a lot of negative coping mechanisms, but but music was one of the positive ones. And when I was going through all this shit in school, like I would go sit alone in the band room during lunch instead of hanging out with my friends, and make up songs on the piano and practice the guitar.
I would have my CD player on the entire time because I was bullied a lot. So I would escape. I was listening to Britney, and actually my science teacher actually bought me her Oops, I Did It Again album because I wanted it and I couldn't afford it. And like
That's
he bought it
awesome.
for me, and it was just like, it was my escape because like high school was hell. Literally, I would be like eating lunch and be punched in the back of the head. And when I would stick up for myself, I would get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I told the teacher, I was like, no, I'm not putting up with this. You can shut your fat ass mouth. Because like, I can't. It was too much, and I actually had to quit because it was too much.
That's one of the things that we're like, that I think of when like we have kids and they're in school, and with the best of intentions, I think we roll out these anti-bullying programs, but do they really do anything? Are they really effective? Are they working?
I don't think they are. There has to be
think they
another
are.
way, but it's gotten worse.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And the thing that drives me nuts about that is like, so my parents' generation, right? They're the people that will say like, oh, we were bullied when we were kids, and you know, you just suck it up and man up and go take care of. I'm sorry, that was a trigger word for you. You know, and you just got to go do what you know, deal with it. Well, that didn't work for you as well as you thought it worked for you. I know that's like the spanking debate, right? Like, oh, I was beaten by my daddy when I was a kid and I turned out fine. Yeah, but did you? Did you really turn out okay? Because I bet there's something to that, right? So, but what I think is great is that now we're seeing a younger generation say that's not good enough. We're not going to just suck it up and do that. Like, we need help. We want you to. You are the fucking adults in charge. You're supposed to be taking care of us. You're supposed to be protecting us. Please do something to help us.
The principal was no help because my mom would try to talk to them and he'd be like, you need an appointment. And then he was always busy. Always busy.
Oh,
Yeah.
disgusting.
As a parent, when you were telling me that, when you were just saying how you got punched in the back of the head, I was like, if that was my child,
Right?
I would be raising some serious hell. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, very tough. I'm so sorry.
I mean, it's made me stronger, but it's just,
It's not
that was my
deserving.
reality.
It's
And then
not
actually,
deserving.
There are other
I
ways
had
that people
bad
can be
reality
made
at
strong.
home and then at school, so it was never ending. It was never an ending escape for me.
That's still not right, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you politically active? I'm just gonna go through all those.
Do the
To an
checklist.
extent.
Yeah.
Did you vote?
I did vote.
Good.
Okay.
I did vote. I don't know how good I did, but you know, because of
As
who
long
was
as you're doing it, that's my thing. I don't care who you vote for. Just vote for somebody that will uphold your opinions and beliefs.
Well, I was prepared to say, if you had answered that question, no, I was prepared to say, okay, well, hang on for just a minute, and let me work on that a little bit. We'll see what we can do.
Oh no, I think it's very important to vote. It's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. As some of the news stories in the later segment will certainly highlight. So tell us a little bit more about your music and the stuff on Reestablished. We listened to one of those tracks, but what else have you got going on there?
The album I took a whole year. I developed because I did a Girl of Mystery. It was like in 2017. Yeah, I think it was 2017 or 16 or whatever those, one of those. But it didn't turn out right, and the producer was, at the time, he had promised all these things, and then it just didn't pan out, and then the ending result was just not cute, and it was just like the same thing as the other one. So I was like, I took a step back, and I was like, something has to give, and then I did research, and I found out where my pitch needed to be, where the music needed to be, the keys that I could sing in, and I took control, and that is the ending result is Reestablished, and that's why I called it Reestablished, because I'm rebranding myself. I'm reintroducing myself.
I love it. It's great. So let's do this. Let's take a break.
Okay.
I'm going to shuffle some things in the studio.
Okay. Yell at the kids to be quiet.
Yeah, let the kids to be quiet.
You're kicking me out, right?
No, of course not. No, but I am going to shuffle some things around so we can actually hear everybody.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll figure what else that we're going to do.
All right, cool.
All right, we'll be back. You're
around.
listening to Sarah Talk. You let Jesus into your heart. Now it's time to bring him into your home with Flat Jesus. Take photos of Flat Jesus in questionable situations and share with the hashtag Flat Jesus. Flat Jesus comes in 4 fun styles. Color your own Jesus, historically accurate brown Jesus, TSA approved white Jesus, and everybody's favorite, white Republican Jesus with American flag, assault rifle, and bald eagle accessories. But don't wait, apostates. Download your very own Flat Jesus right now at SarahTalk.com/Jesus. That's SarahTalk.com/Jesus now for your free Flat Jesus. The Bible says the earth is flat. Maybe Jesus was too.
In today's health-conscious society, you have many beverage choices. But do you know what's in all of them? So much sugar, sodium, and things you can't even pronounce. Dihydrogen monoxide. What's that? Sometimes you wish you just had a simple, more elegant solution for your beverage needs. Introducing H2O, the first ever chemical-free thirst quencher. H2O is simple, simply composed of 3 portions of 2 elements, hydrogen and oxygen. H2O means chemical-free, unlike water, which is filled with all sorts of shit. When we tested H2O, we found traces of no other elements. So pure, the bottle may as well be fucking empty, with all the same nutritional content as a breath of cool mountain air. First widely featured on Goop.com, actress Gwyneth Paltrow revealed that she exclusively uses H2O for her vaginal steaming process. After all, why use water when you can steam it with H2O? So now we invite you to run out to your local garden hose and drink that shit. Remember, it's not water, it's H2O.
H2O bottled by Flint Bottling Company in Flint, Michigan. Product not actually endorsed by Goop or Gwyneth Paltrow. Please do not use H2O for vaginal steaming, or better yet, please do not steam your vagina. H2O is actually just water. Water is a set of molecular compounds. It's a chemical. Everything is a chemical.
Hello, my friends. This is Sister Mary Atheist of the Church of Religious Avoidance down here in Bumblefuck, Alabama. Now, my friends, my people, my brothers and sisters, do you feel lost? Do you feel that swelling urge to be a part of something better? Well, let the word of SarahTalk help you. If you've never known the word SarahTalk, learn it, live it, love it. Can I get an amen? No? Good, 'cause we don't do that shit around here. My friends, we must all remember that the good word of SarahTalk doesn't happen for free. So get yourself over to patreon.com/SarahTalk and help us spread the word. Plant that seed and help it grow into secular, peer-reviewed empirical evidence for the good of all. In the name of the Sarah, the Becca, and the science-based podcast, amen. Hallelujah and holy shit.
SarahTalk is horrible.
These are tough people.
They prey on the vulnerable. They hurt women and children. They spread human misery and suffering. I'll tell you what, SarahTalk should be ashamed of itself. Sarah, you are a rude, terrible person. The way you treat Donald Trump is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run SarahTalk. And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
Are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Welcome back to SarahTalk. Keith, you just missed the Trump bit. Oh, man, you took too long.
That was fabulous.
We are back with our room full of guests tonight. We have a full house. Thank you guys all for coming to the show tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You said there was pizza, so we
That is a true statement.
Very true.
So before we get back to the show, I do want to thank all of our wonderful patrons who keep the show going. Go to patreon.com/SarahTalk. For as little as $1 an episode, you can become one of those wonderful patrons and support the show. Nope, Dan, the official researcher, Dan is
on top of it.
Already
did you flip
doing
the
his
camera?
job. No. That's your job.
Well, you didn't give me the laptop.
You're sitting on the wrong side of the table.
I'm like looking, I'm waiting for the image to change.
We're
and
not-
I'm like, it's not changing.
We're not used to
Yeah,
having
Russell just said in
a
chat
full
on
house.
camera. At least I got it before Russell did.
So Dan is sharing out all of Alyssa's social media and information. Thank you, Dan. Dan's our official, unofficial researcher. So let's talk about some things in the news.
In the news.
So there's big news in the trans community this week. The now conservative-leaning Supreme Court voted 5-4 to grant a stay on 2 lower court decisions that had blocked Trump's trans ban for the military. So as of the SCOTUS decision, the Pentagon can again bar trans people from joining or in some cases remain in the military while the lower court ruling is appealed. So what I thought we could talk about is maybe some of the opinions and misinformation that float around when this story comes out. Right? And the first one I always see is, well, you know, trans is a mental illness, and mental illness prevents anyone from joining the military. Right?
That would eliminate half of the military.
That's a disqualifier. That should be a disqualifier for anybody. Right? Except the problem with that is that all of the medical community has turned around on that issue, right? The DSM-5 was updated to no longer classify gender dysphoria as a mental health illness, right? And you know, of the mental illnesses that we do suffer from, anxiety and depression and all of this torturous stuff isn't as much because we're trans. It's because the way society treats trans people, right? Another one is they argue about our wonderfully high suicide rate. And the one comment I saw about this that just boiled my blood, it said, the trans community has an over 40% suicide rate, which doesn't decrease after surgery. And I thought, surgery has nothing to do with it. Like, we know it's not a magic pill that you take and it fixes all your problems. Woo, I've had surgery. It's everything in my life is going to be better now. Like, who thinks this? People on the internet. So, of course, surgery is not the primary driver of trans committing suicide. It's unsupportive family and discrimination in the workplace and at school and being the victim of physical or sexual assault. And it's all of this: trans people are mental and unfit to serve in the military. That message in the first place is what pushes people towards depression and self-harm and suicide. And then this one I thought was really strange. The children are screaming out there.
Just ignore it.
That's the only thing I can hear.
Yeah. Another thing that somebody argued was that, and I don't know if this is true, I'm not a military expert. If somebody knows, please let me know. There was a concern that, like, well, you know, trans people could join up and then demand surgery right away and be out of active duty for a year, like right after joining. And that feels probably wrong to me. Like, there's got to be some kind of probationary period or something, I would think. Like, but I don't really know. I don't know anything about the military.
No idea.
Me either.
So what do we all think about trans people serving in the military?
I'd like to hear Dan's thoughts on this because he served.
Oh, okay.
224.
So Dan, why don't you call us?
224.
Oh man, I won't be able to hear his thoughts because I don't have headphones.
407-2724.
No, he's not calling right now.
I can share. Oh, okay.
Oh, and Michael just came on. Michael, I need to come cut my hair.
Oh, God.
Michael,
you
please
missed that
help
part
her.
of the show.
Help her.
But, like, is this an issue? Is this really an issue?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Look, I sat down across the desk from a Navy recruiter one time. And I was, I don't know, 18 maybe. And I was joining up. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Didn't have a clue. Hadn't dealt with any of the gender issues. But I thought, like, oh, maybe I'll go see what this is all about, right? And I sat down across the desk from this guy, and this was his pitch. So what you do, basically, in your first tour of duty, you get on, you go around South America, right? And you get on the ship, and you go to the port, and you get off the ship, and then you get drunk, and you fuck all the locals. And then you get back on the ship,
wow.
and then you go to the next port, and you get off, and you get drunk, and fuck some locals, and then you get back on the ship, and repeat, and repeat. And I was like, this is your sales pitch for joining the Navy? No, thank you.
Mm.
Jesus, dude. Well, that's when America was great.
Yes. Oh, if only we could go back to those days.
I was just thinking of all the crabs that you would collect.
Yes, that's exactly what I was
Right?
thinking. I was like, that's fine, but I don't want to bring home too many souvenirs.
And that was before they still don't, but that was back in the day before there was like proper sex education. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just don't see that this is an issue.
What was that look? What were you doing just now?
Oh, you were crackling.
Oh, okay.
Quit pointing things out.
No, I can't hear myself, so I don't know if I'm being too loud or not.
Oh, that's right. We got to get that fixed.
It's okay. It's fine.
Anyway.
Oh, wait, Dan says,
Yeah.
I have all capital letters, no issues with trans serving. The false claims about the effect on unit cohesion were already disproved by the reversal of the gay ban.
Yeah. There you go.
Right on.
Linda says it is definitely society in the way they bully people, that talking about leading trans people to self-harm and suicide. Yeah, there's no issue to this. If somebody wants to serve and they're otherwise fit, if they pass all the tests that you make them, the hoops that you have to jump through, let them serve.
What was the there's a meme going around. It was like, trans people shouldn't compete in athletics
that was next on my list.
All
yeah.
right.
No, go ahead.
They shouldn't be competing in athletic events because they have an advantage.
Right.
But we also don't want them in the military because
right. So a trans woman shouldn't be able to compete with the girls team because she grew up with testosterone in her system, and so she's got its advantage in bone structure and height and whatever, and muscle mass, which by the way goes away, as we know.
I can tell you for a fact. I've watched it happen.
We've gotten weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker.
She used to be able to open those pickle jars for me.
It's true. That's true.
Not anymore.
So no, you have an advantage in sports, but when it comes to the military, then we're delicate little butterflies that, can't handle combat.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
You can't have it both ways.
I would feel more concerned with things that come after serving in the military.
Yeah. Oh, but then we have the VA that doesn't do shit for anybody.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We bring people back from serving in active,
take care of them.
like, war zones, and
PTSD.
I was just thinking the other argument that always pisses me off is this is a group that has such a high suicide rate. Why would you want them out? You know what? The people that have the high suicide rate are the ones that don't have the support. So if you give them the support and make them feel welcomed in the military, they're going to do something with that's positive for everybody.
Right. Yeah, one of these threads I got myself dug down into was making the argument that, like, look, the VA, reports that that people who have served in the military there's already a high rate of suicide in former service members.
Yeah.
Why would we want to add to that? Really? I wish you could see the eye roll on camera.
Yeah, and
like, are you fucking kidding me?
Okay, fine, but what are we doing to address that?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing.
And that's why. That's the whole thing. If you take a marginalized group of any group, it doesn't matter who they are, but if they have something and you address that issue and find what fixes that issue, then the issue goes away.
Right. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is some of the trans pages that I follow on Facebook have taken a very strong hell no position to Kamala Harris.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So they pointed to her records on trans rights, specifically regarding her time as California's Attorney General. When representing the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation in 2015, she sought to deny gender reassignment surgery prescribed to 2 transgender inmates in the California state prison system. So, if you listen to these Facebook outrage pages, we throw her to the curb, right? Wrong. So, first, she addressed all of these concerns at a news conference on Monday after announcing her campaign, arguing that sometimes you have to legally represent someone whose position you don't agree with, and said that others in the department did things without her knowledge. But she said, quote, "The bottom line is the buck stops with me, and I take full responsibility for what my office did." And from there, that you could point out a number of things that, concern you about those cases. I did not stop and go into detail to research, those 2 specific cases, and what their stories were. There's questions about, it was medically prescribed. I do know that. Were they expecting the state to pay for it? Or was it going to be paid for personally? That's a question I might have. I got into an argument with somebody recently about, where do we house transgender inmates? How do we determine who goes to the men's facility and who goes to the women's facility? And when? Where's the line? And what point in transition is a trans female enough to be housed with female inmates? There's a lot of questions that go on when you talk about, how do we handle, but because this is the binary fucking world that we live in. But back to Kamala Harris. So as Attorney General, she had to represent the state and the laws as they were written, whether she agreed with them or not. But also, she signed amicus briefs arguing that trans people should be allowed to use the bathroom of their choice. And as Attorney General, she filed briefs supporting Obama's guidance for schools supporting trans rights. And she argued against North Carolina's anti-trans House Bill 2. As a senator, she signed a brief urging the Supreme Court to rule in favor of Gavin Grimm, who we talked about at length during his case. She co-sponsored the Equality Act in 2018, introduced legislation to ban the use of gay and trans panic defense in court. So maybe she got one thing wrong. Suddenly she's anti-trans and we shouldn't consider her?
That was a big sigh, baby.
I'm going to let it simmer. I'm going to let it simmer. It's a shame because, where I'm hearing this from is, supposed to be trans-positive pages that just didn't look deep enough into the issue. They heard, oh, this is a thing that she did. She must be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this before with Hillary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As skeptics, if we're going to argue that people and ourselves, that we should all update our beliefs when presented with new evidence, then we have to accept when someone says, hey, listen, I may have been on the wrong side of this thing once upon a time, and now I'm not, right? And Hillary opposed marriage equality for the longest time, and then she turned. And what did people say? Oh, Hillary flip-flops.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to look at that through the lens of skepticism and say, okay, in Kamala's case, I think we have to look at, okay, what has she done since then?
Yeah.
Right? And that was a pretty big list of, I think, positive shit that she's...
Yeah, absolutely.
She seems like she's trying to turn it around.
So, I'm going to tell you what's going on in the chat.
Please.
Gotta go way back. Russell says, Patreon goal, a new headphone splitter with more jacks. Dan looked it up and posted a link for the item and the price.
I love our people.
Russell says, man, this guy researches everything. Dan says, it's my unofficial job. I said, Dan, I have a new unofficial job for you. Somebody needs to remind Sarah to hit record at the beginning of each episode. Dan said, that can be Siri's job.
Oh. That's not a bad idea.
No, it's not.
At
8 o'clock, set a reminder that says, hit the record button, doofy.
I'm pretty close to buying the hardware recorder, so we don't have to worry about the computer shutting off in the middle of the show and all of that other stuff that we had problems with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's going on in the LGBTQ news this week. Let's move into some church-state stuff. So there's 3 news releases from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And if you're not convinced that we should all give a fuck about this, that religion needs to be separated from the government, have a listen.
Oh, man.
No, I'm reading.
Oh, you're going to read. You said have a listen. I thought you were going to play something. Okay.
On January 6th, the headline of the first one is South Dakota governor violates the Constitution on her first day. On January 6th, her first full day as governor of South Dakota, Governor Kristi Noem sponsored a church service in the Capitol Rotunda. The event was billed as an inaugural worship service with Governor Noem, explicitly tying this religious event to her inauguration in public office. Despite assurances that all were welcome, this event made no attempt at being an interfaith service. Every aspect was decidedly Christian in nature. Service featured Christian music, a full sermon by a pastor, and multiple group prayers. One of these prayers, led by a woman who identified herself as the new governor's family friend, endorsed a Christian nationalist vision for South Dakota, saying of God, quote, "You are the Lord and King of South Dakota."
Oh, my worst nightmare right now. Horrible.
We thank you.
I'm going to start twitching.
We thank you, Lord God, that we have faith in you, and that Holy Spirit is filling this place now as we worship you. I'm sorry, I slipped into Southern there for a minute.
Loved it.
And the Holy Spirit absolutely takes over every corner and every crevice of this capital of this state. The woman then pivoted from Christian nationalism to exorcism, praying that any demon that may try to come in this place is kicked out. Hallelujah! Woo! But she's not alone. On January 7th, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers' inaugural, the first state-sponsored event with him at the helm, included religious, almost completely Christian, content. For example, the ceremony opened with an invocation by the Reverend Willie Briscoe that plainly conveyed a Christian message.
Oh, Willie Briscoe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Where was this one?
Like
Wisconsin. I wasn't expect that in Wisconsin.
Sounds like a wrestler.
Who said, may we all bow our heads. God, our Father, we thank you for your grace and mercy toward us. God, I ask that you invoke your richest blessings on him and his administration, and he assumes the mantle of leadership in this state.
Amen.
Give us the strength to... I'm going to need you later for a bit that we're going to do.
Okay.
Give us the strength to stand with our leaders, the courage to encourage them, and to continue to pray for them, because we know that this journey is not easy. And we must, with those who wait on the Lord, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. The occasion also included...
How many people does he know that just faint when they're walking?
Well, when you're filled with the Holy Ghost.
Sarah, damn it, Sarah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to eat here.
Sorry, Dan.
Dan, sorry.
Poor Dan.
Dan always eats during the show. I don't know why this is a choice for you.
Yeah, Dan.
You've made a choice.
Texas.
The occasion also included a concert of Christian songs by William Reed III Community Choir, a gospel choir, featuring repetitive theological lyrics about worshiping Jesus, such as, "Oh, happy day."
Oh, no.
God, that was your part.
Amen.
Oh, happy day.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
God, y'all let me down.
I was snapping.
On time, too.
We didn't go to that kind of religious...
No, that's true.
And he didn't go to church.
No.
It's all on you, music lady.
Yeah. Your fault.
I don't know that one.
It's on your next album.
Do you know Freebird? Oh my god.
But we're not done yet.
Oh God.
Literally.
The day.
It's not worth the pizza that we were on.
Might want to order another one.
There's whiskey under the table. Do you want me to break that out?
Need it, dude. Seriously.
The day after his inauguration, newly inaugurated Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt and his wife attended
Are you making up these names?
No, this is real stuff.
Okay.
Right? I have to ask her that every now and then, too. Legit.
And his wife attended an inaugural prayer service at the First Baptist Church of Moore. During the service, he reportedly declared his mission as a governor to be a religious mission to, quote, join in with what God is doing in Oklahoma. Quote, he is about to unleash Oklahoma. We're going to engage the nonprofits and the churches to really heal and solve some of these social issues, county by county, that the government can't do. No law can do, but our Heavenly Father can.
That was creepy. That was really creepy.
That bothers me because if the role of the church was to handle all of the charity in the world, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Like the Church of God that I went to for a while, we didn't do like community service.
No.
We didn't go out and help people build ramps up to their house and they're coming home in a wheelchair. We didn't go paint people's fences. We didn't help clean the neighborhood. We didn't do any of that shit. We sat in the pew on Sunday and our pious, pompous, arrogant asses and pretended like we were good people. That's exactly what we did.
I'm just glad we didn't have hard wooden pews. We had nice cushy seats.
Oh.
We did. Individualized seats.
With armrests.
Privilege.
Right.
Yep.
So then the Oklahoma First Lady, Sarah Stitt, followed with similarly troublesome statements telling Christians to use their position in elected office to convert people to Christianity. Quote, we are God's kingdom here on earth. It is our call to go out into our state and save people and bring people to him. This is not the role of the government. So let me get back up on the soapbox for a minute and remind you to register to fucking vote and then actually go fucking vote, because that's one thing that we really suck at. And so I thought I wanted to talk about this in the context of how we fucked up in 2016. Who are you all for in 2016? Did you have your favorite? Bernie. It's okay. You can tell.
Yeah,
Bernie.
We won't be offended. Did you have a presidential favorite? Bernie? Bernie, Hillary.
Oh, did you black that out?
Did you vote for Trump?
No.
Good.
I was shocked
You
when
can
he
stay.
won. I was like,
Yeah, we all kind of
I was
were.
like, he's not going to win. He's not going to win. Yeah.
So let's talk about that from a different perspective than I think we've talked about here on the show. So the Republicans ran 17 candidates. Now, what happened when each one of those candidates dropped off? The group of people who had supported that candidate shuffled around underneath other candidates. And you continue down that path until you've got 2 or 3 left.
Mm-hmm.
So when Ben Carson dropped, his base spread out. When Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio dropped, their followers lined up behind somebody else. And when only Trump was left, this is the authoritarian nature of being conservative, they all lined up behind them. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. We didn't do that. What happened after our primary, half of us went, fuck no, never Hillary, and half of us went, fuck no, never Bernie. Like, we split. I'll never vote for Hillary. I'm going to go throw my vote away to Jill Stein. Mm-hmm. Or write in Bernie fucking Sanders, which doesn't go to anybody. Mm-hmm. So I like that we're more egalitarian. Maybe not the one I want to use. Than authoritarian. I don't like authoritarianism. That's why I'm not a Republican. But let's not do this 2016 shit again, right? their Democratic field is huge. There's going to be a lot of candidates. There's already a lot of candidates. Pick your favorite. Push for them in the primary. Campaign for them. Call bank for them. Vote for them. Whatever. But if you're for Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris ends up getting the nomination, well, we have to fucking drop that shit and get behind our candidate, whoever it is, because the worst candidate the Democrats put up will be exponentially better than anything that 4 more years of Trump will do, or anyone the Republicans could put through. Yes. So, and again, to remind everyone, the National GOP Party platform includes language against marriage equality and gender identity protections and sexual orientation protections. It's in their platform. And they're working to install Christian dominionism in our government. If you're frustrated that 3 governors basically turn their inaugurations into a church service and blatantly speak as if their role as commander in God's army supersedes their role of upholding the Constitution, which clearly calls for a secular government, you have to fucking vote.
Mm-hmm.
Need more? From Slate.
No, but I'm sure you're going to give it to me.
Yes, please, Sarah. Give me
From
more.
Whoa, hey! Wife in the room? God.
You're next.
Oh, okay. All right, in that case.
From Slate this week, the Trump administration will let adoption agencies turn away Jews and same-sex couples. Thanks, SCOTUS. What? In 2014, the Supreme Court dramatically expanded the Religious Freedom Restoration Act to let for-profit corporations deny contraceptive coverage to employees on the basis of their owners' Christian beliefs. This was the 5-4 ruling in Burwell v. Hobby Lobby that prompted the now famous dissent by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is still in bubble wrap for her own protection.
Well, she's kind of being tag team right now.
Oh
no! Bernie's caressing her, making sure she's okay.
As long as she's given consent.
Yes.
Keith is playing with our dolls.
I'm making sure she's cool.
Ginsburg, who condemned the court's decision to use RFRA, a law originally intended to protect religious minorities, to legalize discrimination. Here's what she wrote: "No tradition and no prior decision under RFRA allows a religion-based exemption when the accommodation would be harmful to others. Though through Hobby Lobby, the court has transformed RFRA from a shield into a sword, creating a license to discriminate with no clear limitations." On Wednesday, the Trump administration proved Ginsburg right. In a decision of startling breadth, the Department of Health and Human Services declared that under RFRA, a federally funded foster care agency in South Carolina has the right to discriminate against non-Christians, closing its doors to would-be parents of different faiths. As Ginsburg predicted, the administration's interpretation of the law has no limiting principle. It all but announced that taxpayer-funded adoption and foster care agencies may now engage in flagrant discrimination without consequence, so long as they state a religious rationale for their actions. The grim future that Ginsburg foresaw in Hobby Lobby has arrived. So vote.
Yes, please.
God, if you haven't. So this story actually started with Miracle Hill Ministries, which is a Christian foster care agency, who refused to work with several applicants who did not share their beliefs. They turned away a Jewish woman eager to mentor children in foster care because she wasn't Christian, and they also rejected same-sex couples because their sexual orientation did not align with their religious values. The State Department of Social Services warned the agency that they could lose their license for this discrimination, which is rightly so, but the Republican governor stepped in, issuing an executive order granting adoption and foster care agencies license to discriminate on the basis of religion. But a federal rule also prohibited Health and Human Service or funded agencies like Miracle Hill from discriminating on the basis of, among other things, religion and sexual orientation. So what they do? The governor petitioned the Health and Human Services for an exemption, and they granted it. I have been screaming about Project Blitz since it launched, and I'm not about to stop. I'm working on a presentation about it. But this is this is an unusual path to enabling discrimination on a religious ground. So we've talked before about how most of these are written to be like, you can choose as a Christian adoption agency to not adopt out to gay people, right? And I have long said, and I don't want to be the slippery slope person, but I have long said that where does that stop? It's not just going to be gay people; it's going to be everybody else we don't like too.
Exactly. Yeah.
And here you are. There it is. Oh, we don't want to give babies to Jewish people. Oh, Muslims want to adopt babies? Nope, we're not going to give them any children either.
Wow.
We've got to do something to fix all of this religious freedom exemption bullshit. Because religion should not be an exemption to discriminate against someone.
Right.
I don't know why it was... Well, I do know why, but it frustrates me that we protected it as a class in the first place. So pay attention to your state legislatures. The Project Blitz includes an act called the Child Protection Act. And this is an act intended to ensure that all qualified child placing agencies in the state are free to provide their services without impediment related to an agency's free exercise of religion protected by the United States Constitution and the state's Constitution. This act is not intended to limit or deny any person's right to adopt a child or participate in foster care, except that's exactly what it would do by enshrining into law an express exemption for child-placing agencies with sincerely held religious beliefs to refuse to adopt out to gay people or trans people or Christian, non-Christian people or interracial couples. Anything that you could throw up on the wall as a deeply held religious belief and get it to stick.
What, single women? Or
Yeah,
single men?
sure.
Like, and I know plenty of single women who have adopted children and fostered children. So,
right.
Like, I say if you want to foster a child who needs somebody, there should be nothing unless you are like, I don't know, doing really bad things that are illegal.
Right.
Like, that should be... Rachel, I misunderstood. Rachel is doing bad things that are illegal, or you're doing Rachel and that's illegal.
If you've listened to the whole show, it sounds like we're all going to be doing Rachel.
Oh boy.
God. No, you're right. Like, first of all, has anybody studied like what it takes to adopt a kid?
It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And you got to jump through all these hoops.
Yeah, my manager is adopting a kid, and it's...
Yeah, she's been in the court system for years.
Yes, it's been like almost 2 years now, and like it's...
They gotta come look at your house like 87 times.
Yes, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. She's squeaky clean too, and they're still like putting her through the ringer. And
they want to know,
and her family.
They want to know where all of your money comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a savings account,
yes,
right.
Yeah, sure.
If you have a savings account with higher amount, that's one that I heard was crazy. A friend of mine way back in the day was trying to adopt a baby, and she had a trust fund that her dad had like given her or whatever, and they were like, well, we need legal documentation. Where did this money come from? Like,
my God.
Yeah, they moved the goalpost on her too. Like she had to she was basically on the track to adopt a kid. It was like next month. Then they told her that she has to take like 14 weeks more of this class.
Oh my gosh.
So she has to pay for this class.
And meanwhile, the only person really suffering is the child.
Right.
She's only trying to do the right thing. 'Cause
right.
The kid was born like addicted to meth and all this stuff, and she's only trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're just putting her through the ringer. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The thing that frustrates me, I think, the most about this is, and we've seen cases where particularly Catholic charities, Catholic adoption agencies.
I like how you said that.
So they make this argument that, like, well, listen, if you don't let us discriminate against queers, then we can't do this anymore, and we're just going to have to close up shop. What? Like,
okay, fine.
Because right, follow the breadcrumbs. Because what would happen is The state is saying, listen, we have a non-discrimination ordinance, and you have to follow it, even as a church-based organization, right? You cannot discriminate against this person and this person and this person and this person because you receive federal funding to operate this adoption agency. So you can discriminate, but we're going to stop giving you money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't do that. We wouldn't be in operation anymore. We'll have to shut down. Well, would you rather have children go to these homes where there are obviously people who want them and can care for them, or you're just going to shut your... You would rather have children, what, on the streets?
Yes, they would.
In group homes?
Mm-hmm. Because it's not about the children.
Growing up... No, of course not. But aging out of the system without a family?
Just like their stance on pro-life is not about the children. It's about their need to control a woman's choice and a woman's body.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with these kids that need families. It's not about the kids. It's about them being able to throw their weight around and be the boss and say, well, this is...
Yeah. What's your dad's comment there?
I was an old one.
Dear old dad.
A recourse when elected officials place themselves above the Constitution. That's about all I can see.
Oh, it says, what is the recourse when elected officials place themselves above the Constitution and blatantly disregard it? Clearly, they should be removed from office. They are sworn to protect the Constitution, not subvert it, introducing their faith. Constitution is not ambiguous about separation of church and state.
Amen. But again, we got to get out there and vote.
Yeah.
Because the people who are voting these people into office, they show up every election. They vote in. They will be there every single time.
And all they do is tell their parishioners that there's a potluck at the polling location on Tuesday.
Our polling location is a church.
Well, I know, but and then that makes
come
the
out
job even
and vote
faster.
and get have some mashed potatoes while you're here.
Yeah, get right.
Casserole. Casserole, not mashed
Casserole.
potatoes. It's casserole.
Oh, depends where you're from.
Yeah, I guess.
Here's some other crazy shit. Arizona State Representative Gail Griffin has proposed a bill that would tax citizens $20 to watch porn on their computers, with proceeds, get this, helping build a border wall between her state and Mexico.
What
the fuck is going on down in Arizona?
No. Dan! Get a hold of your people. What the heck? You said Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Arizona it is.
You need to cut down, Rachel.
I was just thinking, I would have already funded the wall.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Done and built. Done and built.
Oh,
erected completely.
All around the whole nation.
Which is all right.
Woo! We broke the microphone. Oh my gosh.
Okay, got it.
The bill would force all internet service providers to censor obscene materials.
Obscene materials? Rachel.
Legal adults.
I don't even live in Arizona. That's how good I am.
Legal adults would have to pay a fee determined by the internet service provider, $20 of which would go to the state to pay for this stupid wall. Anyone who knowingly worked around the filter would be subject to criminal charges, as well as the ISPs that clearly didn't sufficiently block the obscene material.
I just had an amazing
idea. I had a good idea. Right.
Wait a minute.
If this money is going to fund the wall, can we see what they're looking at?
Ooh.
I kind of like
there you
that
go.
idea.
Well,
that wasn't my idea.
You know, like Pornhub releases from time to time their data.
It's amazing.
And it's like, oh, wow, the South watches a lot of gay porn.
Yes. The South loves it.
Yeah.
I just figured this out. Okay, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but when Donald Trump was elected president, piñata sales in Mexico went through the roof. And there were people making Donald Trump piñatas to sell them to people here that were outraged and wanted to beat the living shit out of Donald Trump, right?
Uh-huh.
So what if we got all those people together that made all those Donald Trump piñatas? They can build out of paper mache a border wall. Mexico can pay for it. Because it's paper mache.
Of course, yeah.
But it's just a piñata, so it's not. I mean,
Here was my idea. My idea was rather than pass this cost on to the consumer, the company should eat this $20. And the porn company should be like, okay, listen, we're going to cover this fee that you charge now, but all we want in return is some advertising, right? So imagine miles and miles and miles of beautiful steel fence. It's beautiful steel fence. It's gonna be a great fence. It's gonna be the best.
Oh my gosh.
And it's gonna have pictures of Pornhub all up and down.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Giant, beautiful murals of porn.
All those poor
from
people
one
who
end
were
to the
going
other.
to be subject to
Pictures
intimate
of-
domain.
Yeah.
Mike Pence in front of it.
You have a picture of Mike Pence doing this?
Yeah.
And then next... nice.
Oh my God.
Oh man, where's our artist friends? They could do up the sketch of the sample sketch.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a turn down real quick. We're gonna bring the scene. We're gonna bring the vibe down a little bit.
Man.
But then we'll do the floor.
I hate it when people turn the vibe down.
Normally I. Jesus Christ.
Earlier when you said choke on the 20... earlier when you said... Oh, wait, I just gave the joke away. Earlier when you said about eating the $20, I was thinking, can they choke on the $20 instead? Okay, we need to go. That's it. We're done.
No, stick around. No. Okay, go on, go down.
All right, we're almost done.
Go down.
I'm gonna have to turn your microphone off.
I totally said that one on
Mute
purpose.
I didn't invite her, by the way.
Okay, so get ready to feel bad about yourself for all of that.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, new information is out in the story of now that we're in Arizona, the story of the 29-year-old nursing home patient in Phoenix who was in a vegetative state and gave birth in late December. They now know who impregnated her. 36-year-old Nathan Sutherland, a Christian rapper.
Oh my gosh.
Who began working as a nurse when his rap career died. DNA evidence clearly pointed in his direction. So I want to have a quick listen to see exactly why this guy's career might have tanked.
Holy shit.
I can probably hear it. I don't know.
You know, I forgive you for all the things that she did, okay? All the things that she done to me. All right, now go.
I heard it in the first 5 seconds.
Live, man.
So that's Jezebel. By Christian rapper Sleepless Soul Jazz.
Sleepless Soul Jazz.
Sleepless Soul Jazz.
Never mind. I'm not gonna know.
It's like 3 words all smushed together. But I can't imagine.
Because what I heard was Sleepless Soul Jizz.
Hey, send me that link. I'm gonna download it.
Yeah.
No,
twerk to
it. From NBC
Play it
News.
while she's sleeping.
Sutherland was arrested Wednesday and charged with sexual assault and vulnerable abuse of an adult. Licensed practical nurse, Sutherland had worked at Hacienda Healthcare in Phoenix since 2011.
Oh, wow.
The chain of events that led to his arrest began in dramatic fashion December 29th when an incapacitated 29-year-old patient suddenly went into labor and gave birth to a boy. In the weeks since, one of the doctors responsible for the woman's care was suspended and another resigned. The CEO of the center also stepped down. DNA was collected from all male staff at the facility, and Sutherland turned out to be a match. Staff at the facility had been unaware she was pregnant. Now, hold on. How the hell do you not know? Like, you're providing health care to this woman. How do you not notice that she's pregnant?
Okay, hold on.
Oh, no.
No, stop.
Okay.
If she's just laying in bed and she's not, like, she's a vegetable, right? So she's incapacitated.
That's a terrible way to say that.
Finish your
Just go ahead.
Isn't that okay? Maybe I was
That's
reading
not
a different
the medical
article.
term, but it's fine. Go ahead.
No, okay, yeah. I thought there was. Never mind. I thought we said that. Okay. She's incapacitated. She can't get up and move around. She's not. Her body isn't doing what a normal woman's body does when it's pregnant. So it's very likely, if they're not taking blood tests and regular urine samples, they could have missed it.
Yeah.
If she wasn't growing the way a normal woman would.
Okay.
She's not physically active like a normal woman.
Was she not show though?
It depends. If she's under blankets and they're not really doing anything other than, I don't know.
I mean, if she's in a vegetative state, surely she's like diapered, and they would have to change.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. But none of the news sources that I have researched this into seem to have an explanation.
Think about that show, I didn't know I was pregnant. If a fully capable woman wouldn't know she was pregnant, I can see how a woman that has no idea and then the people taking care of her
All across the board, it's just negligence.
I mean, it is,
Negligence
obviously.
all across the board. Like, that's why everybody resigned.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah. Right.
They
It's
were like,
obvious.
I'm not dealing with this. You deal with it.
All right, so let's finish out with the Florida man.
Finish out. We're done?
Almost.
Oh, I'm like surprised. Well, because the boys in the chat were saying it's going to be like 11 o'clock before we ever get out of here.
No. It's not that bad. Hour and a half. We're doing good.
At the hour mark, Russell said, oh, and now Sarah's going to page 1 of the notes. What?
Dan's governor's investigation.
Okay, he says, the governor's investigation also revealed the facility had overcharged the state by at least $3 million.
What?
The licensing agency for nurses in Arizona may be investigating the other nurses who did not report the pregnancy.
Damn. I need a Dan in my life.
Right?
That's
He
great.
is.
Dan's great.
He is.
Yeah.
He's like better than Google. Awesome.
Like, I need, instead of an Alexa, I just, hey, Dan.
All right, let's do the world's worst superhero, a Florida man.
All right.
Well, you know what they say. All the best stories start with Florida man, 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 Florida. And sometimes a Florida woman.
All right, we'll do the Florida man, brought to you by our top patrons. Part-time patron Russell, Mandy Imus, rhymes with Schmamer Schmillis, a.k.a. John of the Way. John, it's time to update your
John.
Wayward Willis Patreon.
It's been a while.
Lamont, and our unofficial live researcher, Dan. I'm just going to keep adding a word to that each week.
/ what do we call him? Google Dan?
Google Dan.
Google Dan.
Google Dan. Dan, pick your
Google
own name.
Dan. I'm going to make you a song. Make Dan a theme song.
So 3 stories tonight. The first story is about a 46-year-old Florida woman who was hospitalized after being shot at a Shell gas station in North Jacksonville. According to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, around 10:23 p.m. Monday, a woman agreed to perform a sexual act with the shooting suspect in exchange for $5 and Pringles potato chips.
No
What the hell is going on
No
with Pringles?
Slurpee,
This is the second Pringles story we've had this month.
I mean, they said once you pop, you can't stop.
Slurpee would have given. Slurpee would have been a good one too.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I get shot for a Slurpee.
Well, after the act, the suspect demanded his $5 back and shot her in the shoulder before fleeing the scene on foot.
Holy cow.
Investigators are still trying to identify the gunman.
There is a lot of things that I might do that for, but not Pringles and $5. I'm worth more than that. Come on.
The second story tonight. Last weekend, there was a fantastic super blood wolf moon that we lunar eclipse, we missed the whole thing.
Nobody listened to me.
Shut up, I'm sorry.
That was in bed.
No, I said it's at this time, and everybody said, "Oh no, it's so much later than that." Guess what happened?
I looked it up, and it told me it was.
What time was it? Because I saw 11 o'clock, and then I saw 5 o'clock, and I was like,
Okay, see,
fuck that to
the
no,
thing that
both
told
of
the
those.
thing.
I was like, no to both.
I looked it up, and it was like 1:40 to 2:40. So I was like, okay, I'll set the alarm for 2.
We'll go to bed,
And then it was like, nope, it was actually midnight.
See, but we have
Like,
a kid
fuck.
who's super into space and stars right now. And his teacher's like a wannabe astronaut type of thing, and we just had space night at the school, and like he wants to go to space camp.
Did you have the time right then? Did you wake up and watch it?
No.
I had the right time, but I listened to the other people in my life who had the wrong time.
Don't know what you're talking about.
So you let him down. Good job.
Oh my god.
I didn't.
You're a jerk.
I did.
Good job, sir.
But guess who was
Anyway,
the person at the bus stop the next day that had to tell him, "I'm sorry we missed it, buddy"? Not Sarah. It was me.
I felt really bad.
She did. She felt so bad.
Because my ass woke up at 2 o'clock when the alarm went off, and I went outside and was like, wow, it's really bright out here, but why is it not red? Oh, fuck. So, yeah, I felt really bad.
I told him
Being
2025.
disappointed by your parents?
Right?
He'll get used to it.
Anyway, maybe it's a good thing we missed it, because apparently eclipse watching is very dangerous. At the height of the eclipse, a West Palm Beach police officer was patrolling in a park, driving around 5 miles an hour, when he ran over a couple lying on the ground watching the eclipse.
Oh no.
The man and the woman were treated at a hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. The officer was placed on administrative leave.
Poor guy.
Don't lay down in the road.
Were they
in the road?
Were they laying
They
in
would
the
have had
road?
to be. He's driving around a park, right?
But
I don't
know. A park?
What-
Why was he driving around a park? Was he in his patrol car or was
Yeah,
he
he was
in
in a
golf
patrol
cart?
car.
Were there Pringles and a Slurpee involved?
Right?
That's all I'm worried about.
Oh my god.
I mean, I don't know. If you're in a park, why are you laying in the road?
For real.
Oh.
That's kind of their fault
Your
if they were
ass
laying in
needs
the
to get
road.
run over.
Right.
Yes, I agree.
But I guess they were just, they were laid back, enjoying a romantic moonlit. Yeah.
I've laid down in the moonlight in plenty of public places, never in a road. That's just stupid.
Word to
The
wise.
beach,
Quote
under
of
the
the show right
lifeguard shack, that's a great place.
That was awesome.
And finally, a Florida woman is behind bars after deputies said she threatened an employee and danced naked outside a Pensacola Waffle House. According to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, an employee told Freedom Rider Zobrist, 38, to leave the restaurant because she had been causing trouble. Zobrist fled, but returned later, saying she wanted to get a gun, then shoot the employee and everyone inside. The employee told deputies that Zobrist then took off her pants, danced naked in the parking lot, and tried to grab his genitals. Zobrist also reportedly licked his face and poked his chest, according to the police report.
That's some kind of weird mating ritual somewhere.
Something.
Was she raised
Normal
by?
night at the Waffle
Was she
House.
raised by? But what are they? Bonobos? I don't.
Very classy. Very classy move.
Right? Well, Zobrist was arrested on charges of indecent exposure, simple assault, battery, and disturbing the peace.
So bizarre. What is the story of that? Name of that story?
Oh, yeah, I don't really have a lot of good story names. Sorry.
Dan says,
Blue waffle
blow away
dancer.
job, blue waffle dancer.
Oh, good one, Dan.
I like it.
What about the park?
For the first story, I had, come on, man, you can afford $5 and some Pringles for a fucking blowjob, you cheap ass piece of shit.
Yes.
We paid more than that. That bullet had to be expensive.
Right?
Yeah.
For the second story, I have a moonlit drive in the park. Bum bum.
Oh, God. Good one.
And Freedom Rider. Who the fuck is named Freedom Rider?
I'm going Freedom Rider.
Blue waffle dancer.
Blue waffle.
Yeah.
What's your favorite story?
I guess the
Okay.
first.
Blue waffle dancers. The Pringles, yeah, that guy. Just give her the $5.
Oh, I gotta go with the blue waffle dancer too.
Yeah.
Sounds like the house is falling apart
It
out
does.
there. So let's wrap up the show.
They're probably healthy out there. They're fine. They're working through their feelings.
I put out the fires earlier.
So it's somebody else's turn? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh.
That means it didn't getting taken care of.
No.
It didn't, yeah.
You left some embers burning.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, embers
I see.
burning out there.
Okay, so hey, before we leave, I'm going to play one of Alyssa's songs. But Alyssa, where can folks go to find your music and learn more about you?
Ooh, I'm available on all major digital outlets. So that's streaming services included. So iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify,
Awesome.
Tidal, all that.
Great. Cool. And we'll have links to some of that, and your you have a YouTube channel too, right? That
I
has some
do.
of
I'm
your-
actually working on it, like doing like live performances and stuff. So
Yeah, check out the videos of the live performances on New Year's Eve. I thought that was really fun.
I had a
That was
lot of
cool.
fun. That was a blast.
All right, so which song are we gonna play?
I want you to play "Fight for Us" because the engineer who did it said I did a haunting and captivating vocal. So.
Haunting and captivating. Ooh, I love those. Those are great words. No, I mean, like,
Almost
honestly,
as good as Pringles.
they could come back and go.
Slurpee.
Okay, you are hired as a show writer. No, they could come back and go, all right, great job. Let's one more take. You know, like, okay, I guess, but no, that's some high praise.
Congratulations to you. Yes.
So
Yes.
let's listen to this is Fight for Us.
This is a brief history of B&H, everyone's
After
favorite
this
photo
ad.
and video store. The
Look around, do you see the damage you are causing? So much hurt all around, but no one to stand up for those who seem to be a target, 'cause it's the example you have made. So much chaos seems to manifest at your display. What can we do for the sake of humanity? Why must it have to be like this? When you drag us to the ground, kicking and screaming, no one else corruption and cruelty. Tell me, who's gonna fight for us? For us.
I love that. That is fantastic.
So good.
Wow. The producer, spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was great. And we've talked on recent shows too, like music with a message is so much more to me, like than just that bubblegum pop, shit. That was great. Thank you for that. So again, check out Alyssa's music. Dan shared the website link and the Facebook link and all the links because Dan's just that awesome. But check out Alyssa's music on all of the digital outlets and streaming services. Thank you for coming all the way over here. I appreciate
thank you for
you
having me.
It was quite a long drive, I know, and I hope it was worth it and that you enjoyed it. Rachel and Keith, thank you guys for coming down tonight. And
thank you.
I do want to announce something.
Yes, please. Oh, good, an announcement.
We're doing a deluxe version of the album. It's going to be out April 19th, and it's going to have 4 bonus tracks, which one of them is going to be called Won't Be Erased.
Oh.
Oh. What are
Oh, come on, tell us more.
Yeah,
tell us more.
I want to know lyrics.
Oh, yeah. I actually have the one version on my SoundCloud, but we're doing a remaster for the album.
Awesome. So, maybe a trans anthem.
I want it to be, so, like, bring that into the universe. Like, let's make that an anthem. Come on.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to
Anybody
check that out.
Me?
Yes, and you missed all the things.
I'm so sad. But
Show's over. Welcome back,
crying.
Becca. Sorry, show's over. It's okay.
She had the mommy.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming in. I appreciate it. We had a good time. And come back anytime you want. You guys are all welcome to do this again. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I need to go put on some...
I'm laughing at her face because she's like, come back, but no.
No, it's not.
Her face there, she's like, she just smile like, no.
Remember
no.
when we were talking about social cues?
That was our social cue to leave.
No,
that's what you said.
No, I'm just messing.
I need to leave.
Okay.
Listen, I haven't had any sleep.
Hey,
I'm going to wake 2 a.m.
Look, we got to go to bed because we have a community event tomorrow that we're going to do. So we got to get some sleep so we can get up and do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for listening. We'll see you again next Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Facebook Live. You've been listening to SarahTalk.
SarahTalk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio, and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. The opinions and information provided on this show are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of the hosts and their guests. We make no representations as to accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or validity of any information and will not be liable for any errors or damages. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.